next speaker, lovely lady Mary Scully from United States of America. Unmute yourself and over to you.
Here, I'm really honored, but I'm also very happy to be able to speak about Israel. I mean, about the Palestinian genocide and about its relationship to the struggle in Kashmir. I think so many of these speakers were so excellent. I think one of the most important things to talk about is the fact that the Gaza genocide has changed everything in the world. Like some of the other speakers said, the anti-colonial struggles after that came out of World War II, um, which led, like in the United States, to the civil rights movement. Many of us became politically active in that period, and it was a period of great hope. There was the civil rights struggle against the apartheid situation for blacks in this country. There was the women's movement, the great Vietnam anti-war movement. It was a period of great political hope that broke down the stagnancy and repression of the Cold War after World War II. And there have been genocides since that time that we have lived through. But for the most part, we, because of social media, we did not have we did not get to witness that in real time as we did with the Palestinian genocide, because there are Palestinian activists and supporters on social media, as were Kashmiris before they were surveilled off by India. But it was through their presence on social media that we became intimately familiar not only with their struggle, but with who they were, and began to feel a very intense personal relationship with these anti colonial struggles. So, this genocide in Gaza has changed everything. It isn't even more so than the Bosniak genocide or the Cambodian or Rwanda genocide or Rohingya genocide. It's changed everything. There is what can be called a major tsunamic sized paradigm shift in world politics. And the question is, all of these institutions, the United States for so long, and the United Kingdom and European nations pretended that they were the protectors and vanguard of human rights. And now, with their open, not just complicity with genocide, but their active involvement in the Israeli genocide against Palestinians, a merciless, merciless Holocaust, they have broken up that old, albeit false, world order, and now nakedly showed that colonialism and white supremacy are something that these countries will go to battle with up to the threat of nuclear war. Everything, all of these institutions failed. You can see that with the media, which needs to be held accountable for war crimes propaganda. It's no longer a news source. It's producing Israeli and American propaganda for genocide. These organizations like the UN and have proven their utter impotency, hand wringing, whimpering, but unable to do anything. International law means nothing. The World Food Program, run by the UN, is being reamed by its own members because the head of the World Food Program, Cindy McCain, the widow of right-wing warmonger John McCain, runs that program. And after the genocide was in full force, Cindy McCain participated in an award ceremony giving a humanitarian award to the state of Israel involved in genocide. So, of course, Palestinians are not receiving any food assistance from the UN World Program. The WHO has done marginally little to protest the Israeli destruction of the entire healthcare system in Gaza. Relatively little hand-wringing once again. So there's a paradigm shift, and what's important about it is the relationship between, in this regard, the two most important anti-colonial struggles, not the only ones, the two most important because they have the most advanced anti-colonial movements, and that is Kashmir and Palestine. And what makes them important is not just the development of their anti-colonial movements, but the fact that Israel and India have extensive military and economic agreements with the joint purpose of destroying both the Kashmiri independence movement and the Palestinian movement for self-determination. They have committed themselves to that, and they collaborate to do that. And now they have the open collaboration of the United States and European countries. So there can be no compromises. There can be no wishy-washy stuff on people's attitudes towards the Kashmiri struggle and towards the Palestinian struggle. And I think the most important thing now, I've been saying this for a while, but I think now at this point, it's become an absolute imperative, and that is the need to collaborate and coordinate. As Mahmoud was pointing out, Mahmoud works with Palestinian solidarity. The Palestinian man was talking about working with Kashmiri. Those links, the development of an anti-colonial movement that's united with Kashmiris, Palestinians, Rohingya, Uyghur, the other peoples of the world who are struggling against colonialism in East Timor and Morocco, these has to be a united, massive movement. And there has to be the kind of international collaboration and solidarity that has been shown toward Palestinian solidarity in the last 2 months. I estimated, and I followed it as closely as I could, that at least 5 million people, at least 5 million people protested at one time or another all over the world, from indigenous tribes, small indigenous tribes, to small hamlets, the little towns like the town I live on the Texas border with Mexico, to giant cities like London that had 1 million people, 2 million in Jakarta, I believe. There were at least 5 million people. The majority of people in this world are opposed to the genocide in Gaza. It's unbearable to watch. Even wherever I go in my town and I talk about, I wear my little pin of Gaza and I talk about Gaza, people agree. People are hurt and bothered and disturbed by it. People know there's a genocide going on. And I think we need to answer the question for them. Why is Israel, why is this little settler colonial project so important that the United States is willing to go to this extreme, to completely expose itself as a force for barbarism in the world? Why is it willing to do that? And I think that excuse me, I think that Israel is a bastion of white supremacy and colonialism in the Middle East. It's a bastion of that. And it's sort of a last stand for white supremacy and colonialism. If this brown-skinned Palestinians can triumph over this white colonial power with bombers and nuclear weapons, if it can triumph over that as the Vietnamese triumphed over the United States, it would have a domino, resounding effect across the world for these other anti-colonial struggles, for these indigenous peoples fighting neoliberal predation. It would have an immense reverberation. And so it's a last stand. And the United States doesn't give a damn about persecuted Jews. It doesn't, and for the most part today, Jews are not persecuted, certainly not in the United States. Perhaps in Russia and some places, but for the most part, there is vandalism. There is there's certainly a significant amount of anti-Semitic prejudice, but there's no outright Holocaust or pogroms against them. Never a problem that needs to be addressed. What the United States is all about. They turned away boatloads of immigrants fleeing from Nazi Germany. So that isn't what it's about. What it's about is using the Jews as a battering ram to support white supremacy and colonialism. It's a last stand. And in that regard, it is a last stand for us. We have to maintain the strength, the power, the massiveness of this movement that we have had over the last 2 months. Now they're trying to criminalize, especially beginning on the campuses where students and teachers are very vulnerable. In Germany, the UK, France, excuse me, the United States, they're trying to criminalize Palestinian solidarity, and they're making a massive blunder because they're linking Palestinian solidarity and support for anti-colonial resistance to our civil liberties, so that we are being told that there's no Bill of Rights, there's no Constitution. You are not allowed to say from the river to the sea. You are not allowed to use the word intifada. You are not allowed to protest. You are not allowed to say, I support Palestine. If you do, you can lose your job. You can lose you eventually might be denied your Social Security checks. You can be denied graduate studies. You can be thrown out of college. We have to take that on full force, legally and politically, and challenge it. We are a generations committed to the Bill of Rights, committed to our constitutions, and we are not going to let them take that away because they want to take away our right to support resistance to colonialism. It's a new era. They think they're in charge. And the way that we respond to this is to increase our solidarity with Kashmiris, to increase solidarity with Palestinians, with the Rohingya, with the people of East Timor. It's to increase that solidarity, to be more outspoken about it, and to in no way accommodate or make compromises with Zionists, even the kind that call themselves liberals. After Zionists called for bloodlust against Palestinians and justified slaughter of Palestinians, and still do, there's no rapprochement with them. There's no way that they can go back to Kumbaya and pretend that they're peaceniks again. That's all over. We no longer want anything to do with them in any of the movements that we work with them. And I include in feminism in that. Once you call for genocide against the Palestinian anti-colonial struggle, you've blown your cover. You've joined the forces of white supremacy and colonialism. So I'll just say that we're entering a whole new era historically, and how we respond to it by responding to these attacks on criminalization, by responding to support for the students who are being victimized. How we respond to that will determine whether barbarism will prevail or whether human rights will prevail. And I think our model for how to conduct ourselves is the Kashmiri and the Palestinian people, who both in 75 years have not bent the knee to colonialism and will not bend the knee despite genocide. And I think they are our leaders and our models for how to conduct ourselves in this new historic period. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary.